and I have a full house today. My kids are off school, my wife's off work. Unfortunately, I do not have the day off. Not unfortunately. Actually a good day, work-wise. Fridays are one of the fun days at work because I get to spend basically the whole day on test automation stuff, which is a lot of fun. How's the sandwich? Good? Nice. Okay. What are we gonna do today? We're gonna automate some stuff. We're gonna automate some things. Also gonna charge my phone at the same time. I can get this plugged in here. There we go. Carpe Buy It. What's up, man? How are you? Good to see you. Looking fresh. Hey, thanks, man. I got a haircut. uh, Finally got a haircut. Took me long enough. How are you doing today? Good. Friday? Is it Friday where you are? It's Friday where I'm at. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. Looking forward to the Super Bowl. Fridays at work are always a good day. Good days too. Nice, Arizona. Very cool, man. Is it hot there? I bet it's hot. It's pretty cool here actually. Right now it's 34 degrees. I like Arizona. I have some family that lives in Arizona. I haven't been there in a long time, but they live in Phoenix. Yeah, very strong. It's not too bad, yeah. Once it get Yeah, I hear it gets really hot there in the summer. They have like cool down stations. Am I making that up? Or that's a thing, right? Cool down station in Arizona? Oh, cooling centers, I guess is what I'm thinking of, cooling centers. So you can like get shade and water and stuff. Oh wow. Yeah, they have misters. Misters remind me of baseball in the spring. We would have misters on like our dugouts and we'd turn them on when it got real hot. But that's wild that it gets so hot there. I mean, honestly though, right? Like we built cities in the desert. So what do we expect, I guess? When you think about it. For real, what did they think would happen? No. I know, like, like, imagine that meeting, you know? Everyone's there, and they're like, "Okay, where are we gonna settle?" "Well, the desert looks real nice." Uh, I can just it sounds like some, like, corporate, you can imagine, like, this corporate board meeting with all these dummies in there, and where would be the best place to set up shop? It's too funny. Mm, that's weird. Are you working today, Carpe? You got work? Or are you off? I know everyone's got different schedules these days. They thought it would be a great idea. Well, I mean, that's a good point, right? I mean, other than, I guess, like, a drought, um, Arizona doesn't really get, like, tornadoes or earthquakes or blizzards or hurricanes, really. I mean, I guess none of those things are an issue. Oh, DoorDash, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, we love ourselves some DoorDash. It's just a little, I mean, I know this isn't it's not your fault, but, ordering food through DoorDash is just a little expensive. Everything all the food just seems to be marked up, and I think that's more on the restaurant end than the DoorDash end of the transaction, but that's the one thing that sometimes when I'm ordering, I think, Is that markup really worth, I could probably just get in the car and go get it, you know?" I'm not sure why the restaurants do that. I can't imagine it's that much more of a hindrance to have delivery, but yeah. Oh, 3 upcharge, yeah. Do you have, like, a do you have a pretty good, like, do you a pretty good mental model of, like, "Okay, I'm gonna DoorDash for the next 5 hours, and I need to do X number of deliveries to kinda, like, break even?" Have you kinda worked out the math? Or I guess not even break even, but turn to make my nut, right? Um, I feel like that would be something that you'd wanna build over time, so you kinda have, like, a goal. I like that, you just lock in. I like that, that's good. Not a bad strategy, just lock in. Yeah, I found on the Arizona State Health Department, they have, like, a map with all the cooling centers on it, that's pretty wild. But I bet for certain populations, that's actually a godsend, to have a place like that. Oh, cool. So you're actually really kind of blown away at when it's all said and done about how much you make. That's good. Is it a grind? Do you feel like it's a grind? I know a lot of gig workers always talk about that, about how it feels like a grind, like Uber drivers. Every time I talk to an Uber driver, they always tell me what a grind it is. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is you're not locked into a desk for 8 or 9 hours, which is kinda nice. Yeah, no people in my car, just only food. That's probably a good philosophy for life. Have you worked out, like, the best hours to drive? Like, um, like, I should always do Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights between like 4 and midnight, or have you kind of like settled in on like these are the best hours, or do you just, "Ah, okay, I'm ready to start," so you start and then, "Okay, I'm ready to be done. I'm done," type of thing? Oh, yeah, that's smart, lunchtime. Yeah, I'll bet especially like in a TPPT, hey, what's up? Good to see you again. Uh, yeah, lunchtime, that would be good. Like, especially lunchtime in like kind of a business district or business area would probably be good, right? There's probably a lot of traffic going on there. But yeah, I always thought you probably have to be kind of strategic, or at least you'd want to be, I guess, kind of strategic about it. Not all hours are the same. TPPs, what are those trains? Yeah, okay. I think those are no, those are bugs. Fly on the wall. Okay. Is that what you mean? Fly on the wall? What do the flies mean? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, for sure. If you found a groove, like stick in your groove. Dinner time's probably also pretty crazy with everybody running around doing after work stuff. Probably more traffic. Have you picked up on like are there like the bet like I bet actually you'd probably be a good person to talk to about where's the best place to eat, right? Because you probably see like some trends of like these are the restaurants people could get lunch at. Anybody else excited for the Super Bowl this weekend? Picking a team, Eagles, Chiefs. I'm excited. Although I'm also kind of sad because it always means it's the end of football for the year. And you got to wait another, what is it, 6 months? Well, I guess the draft. I mean, you have the draft to look forward to, but still, someone needs to come up with a spring National Football League. I know people have tried to do stuff like that before and it's always flopped, but I appreciate the attempts. Also, the chat is completely open to any topic. I'm just working and responding to chat. So I don't think we want to talk about work. Kind of maybe boring to some people. Okay. What do I need to do here? Hey, Nightmare Brawler. That's quite a username, man. I have never tried assembly language. I actually saw last week. Was it last week? If you follow the Primogen, um, he's one of the guys I like to watch stream who does like programming coding content. And he did like a stream where it was like, I'm not shutting off the stream till I solve a leak code problem with assembly. That was fun to watch. It was very impressive too. I mean, I think he started from like zero knowledge, and by the end of it, he was flying. I couldn't do that. There's no way I'd pick it up that fast. The last language I tried, or the last language I guess I kind of settled on to try to learn is Rust. So I started going through the Rust programming language book because everybody just kind of recommended that was the best place to start. And yeah, I just kind of been making my way through it. I haven't revisited it in a few weeks, but that's kind of the last language I experimented with. And I guess I've been experimenting a little bit with Lua because I've been messing around with NeoVim and kind of went through a whole process of setting up NeoVim and configuring it, and it's all done, or at least the way I did it was with NeoVim, and so you can use Lua to do all your configuration. I wouldn't say I know Lua. I just I've written some Lua and I've read some Lua. No, there's so many languages out there, man. It's impossible to keep up. I learn about a new one every day, it seems like. Like again, the Primogen is how I learned of it was there's a programming language called Odin, uh which looks kind of interesting, but I had no idea it existed. It's a cool name. In my opinion, position of rest is not solved as there's not even Zig challenge because there's now Zig challenging. Yeah, I think yeah, I don't get too invested in the whole language wars myself. But I am aware of Zig. Never really read any of it or written any of it. Um, I picked up Rust just because I saw so many people talking about it, and it seemed like I've never written any C or C plus plus. And so I was like, it'd probably be good to know like a little lower level programming language. Like I know C sharp can be used in sort of a low level way with the unsafe keyword and things like that. But I thought, it'd probably be good to learn a more of a unmanaged language, to have that background. And so instead of picking up C, I thought, well, let me start with Rust because that seems like that's where those development circles are headed. But based on what you said, maybe that's not the case anymore. Maybe I should take a look at Zig. They all seem great though. I mean, to me, it's like the more the merrier, in my opinion. Find what flavor you want to work with. I mean, at the end of the day, it all translates to ones and zeros, right? So whatever you enjoy writing and whatever you're most productive with, and fits your use case and all that good stuff. Like I know people make fun of like C sharp devs a lot because C sharp devs kind of catch a lot of flack because they only ever want to write C sharp. Like they want to do everything in C sharp, right? It's like Razor exists because of that. Blazor exists because of that. Um, which I mean, I get it, right? If you're productive on one language, why force yourself away from that? But yeah, I feel like choose the language you like and you're productive with and you enjoy. One of my, I mean, honestly, I mean, I really like C sharp, but like TypeScript is a really nice. I mean, y- JavaScript is great until you start writing anything similarly complex, and then you want all that tooling, great dev tooling experience. So that's where TypeScript comes in. But TypeScript still gives you that flexibility of like you can have a little dynamicness, you can have strict typing, you can build something large, you can build something small. Um, it can run on the server, it can run on the browser. It's one of those. I think it's one of the more utilitarian, I feel like, languages to know. A lot of people like Python, and I can't get myself to like it. I actually bought a new book about building large language models, and it's all it's all Python based, obviously. And so I'm having this existential dread of like, do I read the book and just bite the bullet and work in Python, which I know how to do, but don't really enjoy, or should I like spend part of my time going through that book also trying to figure out how to do it in TypeScript or do it in C sharp? Because I do understand that there's implementations of a lot of those um, big and important machine learning libraries now in other languages beyond Python. Okay. Isn't it satirical that JavaScript is used to It is satirical, it is satirical, and that's I mean, I think some people get frustrated by that, but I find it incredibly humorous, and I think it's the joy of technology, right? It's the being able to solve a problem, solve it in the way you wanna solve it. I think that's part of the whole fun, um, you know, the fun aspect of it, and I think people lose sight of it. I saw this a lot when I worked in fitness, but I think the same thing happens in technology where people forget that the technology is a means to an end. It's not the end of itself. Um, you know, the like obviously people like us enjoy the nerds like us really enjoy getting into the weeds and talking about all the fine grained details, right? But at the end of the day, um, what is it? I think there's a Steve Jobs quote, isn't there? Or it's from a Steve Jobs movie. Steve Jobs movie. uh, Technology isn't the thing. Is it Steve? Was it Steve Jobs? Hold on. It isn't the thing. It's the thing that gets us to the thing. Oh no, this was in *Halt and Catch Fire*. If you ever seen that show on AMC, super super good. Uh, but yeah, there's a line in there I think where Joe McMillan says like, "Computers aren't the thing; they're the thing that gets us to the thing." And I think that's pretty broadly speaking is what happens with a lot of people who like the technology. They forget that. Hey Haroon, good to see you again. Weekend or Drake? Probably. I mean, I like them both, but I know more songs by the weekend. Honestly, like there's only usually like a one or two songs on a Drake album that I'll listen to more than once and remember. So they're both good. I actually just listened to today's episode of The Daily on New York Times was all about the beef that's going on between Drake and um, Kendrick Lamar, which was kind of fascinating to hear about all that. It's funny that this still happens today, and people still don't realize that like a lot of the beefing is just about relevancy and making money. Haroon, Neuralink or bots? Both, like why do we have to pick, right? I think Neuralink's really cool, especially when you think of people who have suffered, um, debilitating injuries, right? I think that's awesome that one day they could get their legs back, right? Or the transformative nature of that, restoring someone's vision would just be incredible. Robots are just, I mean, the convenience and the ease they could bring to humanity is just next level, especially when you look at some of the robots that are like the humanoid version, right? Because like I think the biggest thing in robotics, when I worked as a food scientist in a lot of our plants, we had robotics, but they weren't humanoid robots, right? They were the arm robots or palletizer robots, which are still cool, right? But when you think of like how a robot could impact my day-to-day life, that's not the kind of robot I'm thinking of, right? I'm thinking of a robot who can, like, unload the dishwasher, right? And that's exciting, right? So you think like, but I understand like the really like the human hand is a really hard thing to replicate in robotics, I guess. Let's see. Night Brawler, your opinion on DeepSeek? Um, so I mentioned this was it yesterday I mentioned this, but so I think I kind of have two big takes on it. One is I think it's awesome that there's another model out there that's in the space. I think the more the better, right? Let's have all the models. Um, I've used it. I totally agree. I think it's on par with what ChatGPT is offering. Although ChatGPT does have some additional capabilities like being able to generate images, and they have some other things in their product. But from like a pure you know tokens in, tokens out perspective, I think it's pretty good. Uh, the skeptical part of me, the skeptical take I have is I'm skeptical of the cost that they're claiming they built it of. Not because I think it's like you couldn't do that. There's no way you can do that. Um, I think it's because they haven't put up really good evidence to clarify how they're getting at the number that they're claiming. And I think financial statistics are strange things. People can do weird things with accounting and how costs are allocated that I just there's probably six different ways to get to a number and they're probably all different numbers. And so yeah, I'm just a little skeptical on that front. Hey Thomas, good to see you again. Yeah, but yeah, DeepSeek's cool. My one thing right now that I don't care about the AI, the current state of AI, is it seems like it's very quickly becoming this industrialized competition in kind of a like a zero sum game where it's like we've got to have the best model and we've got to capture all the market share. Um, and I feel like I just don't feel like it's healthy competition. I feel like it's competition in the sense that we're trying to root each other out instead of root for one another, right? So that we can like we should all be trying to make AI, generative AI, um, a positive, right, for everybody. Not I'm going to capture the I'm going to capture the most market share and leave you dying on the side of the road type of thing. Hey Thomas, how you doing? Are you off today? Are you working? What's the situation in the field world? What about switching to Linux? Oh yeah, you mentioned this nightmare brawler about because I had all those pains with the hey Tim, what's up man? Good to see you again. You're up bright and early, huh? Um oh okay, so back to the Linux thing. Okay. So I haven't put much more thought into it. All my current machines are Windows machines currently, and I'm super happy with my setup there. Aside from aside from the nightmare that the path separator issue caused me with that Playwright plugin. Um, but I would though that is on like my one of my bucket listings to do technology wise. So I have a Linux server down here underneath my desk that I use to serve a lot of the websites that I create, a lot of the apps that I make. And then I also have a Linux server that's in the Oracle Cloud that I just recently provisioned and have been working on trying to get set up. I want to use that kind of like as a kind of like a tech independence type of thing, set it up so I can use it to have like a custom email with my own domain. I mean, obviously, I have that with my other website, but I wanted kind of go through the process of setting it up on this other server. I want to try to host my images there, like all my photos library stuff. I want to try to get that set up on that Linux box. But which is I say all that just to say like I like Linux. And I want to try it as a daily driver. I have you seen those laptops? It's made by this company called System 76, which is they're basically like modular laptops or whatever. I'd love to get one of those and put Linux on it and use that as a kind of a daily driver machine for an extended period of time. The biggest thing with any of those stuff, it's the biggest thing with it's the biggest thing with the NeoVim that kept me from exploring it for a real long time is that I just get concerned because I have this issue where like it's easy for me to get nerd sniped, right? So if you're familiar with that term, it's easy for me to get distracted by a problem, right? So I'll be working on one thing, and then kind of like what happened with the Neotest Playwright plugin, where I'll be working on one thing, and then some issue will happen, and instead of working on the work that I'm supposed to be working on, I get distracted and I go down a deep rabbit hole for like 5 days trying to figure something out. So I have this concern with Linux because it's highly configurable, and I know there's a lot of like out of the box setups and stuff, but I feel like part of the fun of those types of operating systems or those types of tools is right. You can make it your own, right? So it's really yours. And so I just worry that I'll have this daily driver that I try to work on, but I spend 99% of my time configuring it, screwing with it, instead of working with it. But at some point, definitely, I'll take up a Linux machine for sure. And if you have any advice, like if you have any recommendations, like this is where I started, this was the distribution I used, you know, definitely let me know. I would definitely take recommendations. I've been following DHH, if you're familiar with DHH. Uh, he's one of the co-founders of Basecamp, and he's pretty, he's also the creator of Ruby on Rails, and so he recently talked about his switch to Linux, and um, he even put together like a whole like a starter, basically like a starter pack, right? For like here's how you can make Linux really sweet, right? Almost like a Mac setup, and then he also put together a NeoVim setup for I think primarily oriented towards web development. So maybe that's something I could try. For me, it was wiping off Windows on the second day of and getting in the mud myself. Did everything. Yeah. See, I think that's part of the fun of it. So I think that's the way I'd like to do it is kind of find some space where productivity maybe isn't a huge thing, and I can just don't have to be concerned with wasting time going down some rabbit holes. Yes, exactly, right? I mean, Tim, that's like that's it, right? That's why people love Linux because lightweight, you can make everything yourself. Everything's just a file. That's what everyone tells me. Everything's just a file. And I like working with my servers, but the rabbit hole is yeah, I mean, and that I've experienced that doing the server administration, right? You end up like, what's the file I need to edit to make this work before trying to use it data, try it in a VM. Okay. Yeah, that's a good advice, right? Yeah, I've experimented with a couple different distributions using I think it's made by Oracle VM Box or what's it called? It's like a let me see. Oracle. I think it's VirtualBox. That's what I've used. So I experimented with Kali Linux on VirtualBox. That was my first experience with Ubuntu before I started messing around with servers. Um, But yeah, I would like to I also think it would be a great way to spend more time in the Linux environment, right? Which then you can translate all that knowledge to DevOpsy things. Although at my company, which is kind of, we're a unicorn. I feel like we're not on we're not on Linux. We're still Windows servers. It's kind of wild. I don't trust anyone who says Ubuntu is Linux heaven. It's just Windows with a Linux trademark. Yeah, that's so Ubuntu is the one I have the most familiarity with, and that's probably right because I'm coming from Windows. Instead of studying criminal law, I find myself more focused on the constitution of a random country, is seeing how the law works and stuff. That's a thing, right? I mean, if you're just somebody who's intrigued with problems, you kind of you find yourself off in holes randomly throughout the throughout the yeah. Which is something I find myself I have to be mindful of that because I will like I was supposed to get something done today, and then I wake up at I wake up at 5 o'clock and I have 50 tabs open, none of which have anything to do with where I started. Ubuntu forces snapped. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm familiar with snapped. Slows system down and is not open source. Okay. So, do you have a preferred distribution you like? I know I've heard people talk about Nix OS, and I've heard people talk about I've heard several people talk about different versions. There's another programming YouTuber that I follow named Forest Knight, and I think he has a Windows machine and then he also has a Linux machine. And I don't know what distribution he uses, but I think he uses his Linux box for dev work, and then he uses like Windows for gaming and like video creative production, things like that. Which I think is similar to what I would do. Um, like I would still have a Windows machine, but I would do a lot of development work on the Linux machine. Yeah, Harun, I mean, that's valid. I mean, it's totally valid that, for the average, I think Linux for the average person, like for your mom, right? You probably don't set your mom up a Linux box and hand it to her. So I totally agree. But if you're doing like development work, right? And especially if the development you're doing is for products that will likely end up running on a Linux box somewhere, I think it could be useful. Um, or if you just want more experience, right? If you just want more experience with the Linux operating system, like if you say you're someone who wants to be a system admin of a Linux server, right? That's you want to do DevOpsy things. It could probably behoove you to daily drive Linux, right? Because you're going to get really comfortable in that environment. Man, Manjaro KDE, currently daily driver, working for a year almost. Okay, I've never heard of that. Okay. If you have a good processor, then every useful tool can be compiled on your system with a simple command. Oh, wow. So you're like deep in the weeds, huh? You just compile from source. Every time I see that in the installation instructions for something, I'm like, nope, skip that. uh, I mean, like, how many times though? Like, honestly, uh, I feel like every time I clone some repo and try to get it working, I spend like an hour or more because I get some weird obscure error or something. So that's impressive that you just compile everything from source. I guess probably you compile what you need to from source, right? You probably don't do everything, but oh yeah, Linux. Is eating the world, isn't it? The other operating system I've heard people recommend is Open OpenBSD, I think. OpenBSD, which is which is another Unix-like operating system. I've heard people I've heard people recommend that for, like, servers, and I haven't really tried that. BSD is mother of Linux and Mac OS. Oh, okay, okay, very good to know. Yeah, so I've heard people say that, like, one of the benefits of the BSD is it's just so simple, like, it's not a very complex operating system, which makes it secure, I guess, makes it very secure and, obvious because the less moving parts you have, right, the less opportunity there is for people to make mistakes and open the doors to some vulnerability. Literally derived from BSD source code. Yeah, that's awesome. I did not know that. You taught me something new, Nightmare Brawler. I did not know that. Okay, now I need to. I don't think anybody said in the chat who they're rooting for in the Super Bowl. I don't know. You guys might not care about the Super Bowl, but is there anybody who does care, who wants to pick a side? Oh, hey, Luke. Oh, wow. That's a throwback. How you doing, man? Yeah, good to hear from you. Yeah, it's been forever. Luke and I went to high school together. We played a lot of a lot of baseball, a lot of baseball and a lot of football together. Been a lot of summers in a lot of obscure random towns uh, in Southwest Missouri. Luke, you doing good? Yeah, family well. I see you guys on Facebook sometimes. Family's growing, which is great. Everyone's good here. We're actually in Kansas City now. Yeah, see, Nightmare Brawler, you're describing the perfect problem of like you're describing my concern, right? It's like the minute you dive down these highly configurable tools, you find yourself up late at night trying to figure things out. Although not, you know, assembly code, I would just be lost. I wouldn't even know where to start. So, are you building something? Are you writing something? Or what are you doing with assembly? Hey, Luke. Yeah, good times for sure, man. Yeah, some of the best times. Uh, Doing well, good. Yeah. So right now I work as a quality engineer for a company here in KC. Um, and so just through that process of working for this company, I started learning how to write code and how to program. And so at work, I use it to do test automation. So basically, to take things that humans would normally test and then turn it into a script that can just be run on demand. And then on the side, yeah, on the side, I just it's more of just a hobby of building things and learning things. So Nightmare Brawler, just learning. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. So you're just Just exploring it, huh? C and C. Yeah, I would assume. I mean, I feel like knowledge of assembly becomes super important when you're trying to like squeeze every bit of perf you can. Like there's a guy on the .NET team named Stephen Tobe that I like to like all his videos and blog posts and stuff I like to watch and read. And it seems like I every time he starts talking about perf, he ends up he basically starts examining, C sharp code on the left and then how that gets translated from, intermediate language to then assembly and trying to understand what actually ends up running on the hardware. So it seems like that's important to know. Once I don't know. I haven't had a problem that required going that to that layer of the stack. You know, just haven't had need for it. Yeah, it's been fun, Luke. Yeah, it's not anything I thought I'd be doing. Um, Honestly, all the jobs I've done since I got out of school have not been anything I thought I would be doing, but it's worked out good. It's been good, especially with the family. It's been super flexible and get to be at home, be available for all those things. Wow, from wow, that's pretty crazy. 3 minutes and 30 seconds on a single kind of a one liner change. That's pretty wild, unbelievable. Which, I mean, I guess when every second counts, right? You should be able to make those you should be able to have that understanding and make those changes. Um, I guess for for us simpletons that are just doing the web app stuff, we, you know, an extra second or here, people probably won't mind, I guess. I don't know. It's all trade-offs, right? Like optimization, how much time do you want to spend on the optimization? But I definitely see the value in having a good working, like, mental model, right? Which you can kinda see, like, the code you're writing, what that's actually gonna translate, you kinda have an idea in your head. I can definitely see that being useful. Mountains beyond mountains, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a really important thing, like, you probably don't wanna tie your ego to being the person who knows everything about everything, or or like, "Oh, I'm the smart I know the most about this," Because more than likely, there is somebody out there who, like, knows more about it than you, you know? Um, yeah, so yeah, tying your ego to anything like that's kinda fragile. You find you find yourself one day being reminded that, there's still so much more for you to know and do. Humility is a good humility is a good thing. Yeah. Um, this is 11:44. I'm gonna keep streaming for another 10 minutes or so, but then I'm probably gonna hop off. My kids are home for the day, and I think my wife's gonna be heading out for lunch with some friends, so probably hop off here in a little bit. But yeah, I've asked a couple times, anybody got any takers on the Super Bowl? I mean, I'm personally picking the Chiefs to win. I think they're gonna win. I mean, I just don't think it's smart to bet against Pat Mahomes. I think that's a dangerous move. Um, but I think it's gonna be a great game. I hope it's a great game. I want it to be like a heavyweight fight, just like point for point, turnover for turnover, and then I'll be super sad when it's over. Super, super sad. Let's see. Anybody in here use Copilot? Copilot users or some sort of like AI powered editor. Like I have Copilot. That's what I use. And I just it's amazing the a little bit, yeah. So it's amazing the yeah. It's honestly it's amazing how good it is. I mean, sometimes it's like it feels like it is in your head a little bit with some of the stuff it suggests. So Luke, are you doing stuff with coding or programming, or are you dabbling in it or exploring it? Also, Luke, how's your folks? Your folks doing well? I haven't seen a lot of people from that time in a while. A little bit. Oh, very cool, Luke. I had no idea. That's awesome, man. How did you get into that? Did you go back to school or was it just something you kind of worked your way into? Nightmare Brawler. Windows 10 will reach end of life this year. Will security be an issue for Win 10 users? I also don't know. I'm on Windows 11. Um, I'm on Windows 11 myself. I'm sure, like it seems like there's always a security issue with everything. uh, Luke. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. That is so cool. Are the servers mostly running Linux, Luke? Or you guys have a mixed bag? Yeah, I'm guessing, and I'm guessing mainly Windows Server 2019 and up. Yeah, so that's sort of the company that I work for. Where I don't know the exact year, but yeah, we're mostly on Windows too. Are you there? Are you working for somebody there in where we grew up, or did you guys move? Because I bet you could. I selfishly now like, hey, I need you to teach me some server admin stuff. Um, I have my boss, my boss's husband is one of our DevOps engineers, and so anytime I'm sure he gets super I'm sure he gets super annoyed with me, but every time I see him, I always am picking his brain, trying to learn things from him. So so I'm just gonna direct some of my curiosity to you. Do you guys do much with do you guys do much with automation? I mean, how what is the administration you guys do pretty much all manual, like bare metal type of administration, or is it virtualized? What's that kind of like? Mixture of both. Oh, very cool. Yeah. I'm guessing that's pretty common, right? I mean, fairly common in a lot of orgs. They let you work from home, or you gotta go into the office? Excuse me. Yeah, a lot of older stuff, try to migrate to newer and short term. Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, right? I think that's a similar challenge we have. We're virtualized, but we're on bare metal. And yeah, we always I mean, the whole everybody on the team, across the product, quality, the DevOps side, the IT side, we all see the things that everybody else is doing, the newer, cooler things, and we think, man, it'd be really nice to move in that direction. It's just a lot of work. 2 days in office, three at home. Nice. That's a good balance. It's nice to be able to have, I think, the option, right? The optionality. We have an office. I don't go in very often, but we do have an office. But it's cool. It's cool to hear that someone else is that I know, kind of took a similar journey to me. You kind of like went in a roundabout way to end up in tech. There's some people who really like going to the office. I think there's some salespeople that go into the office every day. It's not for me. Yeah, I can't ever go. I can't imagine going back to like having to commute every day. Ah, that makes sense. The data centers. Ferry. Hey man, what's up? I think this is the first time you've been in the chat. Thanks for stopping in. Um, yeah, of course, man. I'm not a NeoVim expert at all. I just started fooling with it 2, 3 weeks ago, something like that. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun to learn a new tool and figure it out. And I figured it was probably good. Share at least a little bit of my experience and some of the stumbling blocks because I know I've benefited so much from people doing that on the internet, right? You try to figure something out and you Google it and you end up on some obscure blog post or GitHub issue from 5 years ago, and you feel such kindred spirits because obviously this person had my exact same issue, and they stopped to share. See you, Luke. Thanks for stopping in, man. It's really nice to hear from you. Glad to hear you're doing well. But yeah, Ferry, I'm glad that helped you. I'm just gonna keep doing stuff like that. I don't really care about so much about being the expert on anything, but I enjoy learning stuff and I feel like it's fun to share it. Okay, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at the beginning of it too. I mean, I feel like I get more and more comfortable navigating it and working in it every day. But yeah, as far as knowledge about it, um, yeah, I have to largely thank that series I shared, or talked a lot about in a lot of my videos from Typecraft. I have to give a lot of head nod to him because without that course, I don't think I would have tried it or attempted to use it. Um, and he presented it in a really digestible way. And he presented all the different pieces that I needed to see to be able to kind of actually make it uh, possible for me to use. So All right, I think I'm coming up. I just hit my hour, so I said I was gonna do an office hour, so that's gonna do it for me. Um, I probably will stream again some other some other day or some other time today, but that's gonna do it for now. Thanks for everybody who stopped in and chatted. It's much more enjoyable to stream and have people to interact with than to just talk to yourself in a room. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna go back to work. Uh, Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Friday, and yeah, a good weekend. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl if that's your thing. If it's not your thing, don't worry about it. All right, I'm out of here. See you guys.